Hello, I'm Nari McDiarmid for miningnews.net, and it's great to be speaking again with Dr. Mike Jones, Managing Director of Impact Minerals. And Mike, I've heard you say 2024 could be a watershed year for Impact. But before we get your thoughts on that, firstly, Impact has quite a broad portfolio. How do you best describe the company?
Yeah, thanks, Nuri. Well, look, for the entire history up until last year of Impact Minerals, we have been a project generator. So the idea is to, gain good large pieces of ground, large tenement portfolios in very prospective parts of Australia. And over the years, we've had ground in the Lachlan Fold Belt, Broken Hill, and now in Western Australia, an emerging mineral province of southwest WA, which has really started to stand out in the last few years with the discovery of the Julimar deposit. And also there's major gold deposits down there, Boddington, there's also green bushes, etc. So it's a very poorly explored area. And so we've always been not necessarily first movers, but we've certainly put together significant land positions in those areas. So that was our story, but the idea was that should we ever make a discovery, and if you recall, Impact was set up to discover a world-class deposit, it's not worth getting out of bed for anything less, to quote a famous supermodel from a few years ago. And so that's really what Impact has been all about. But we always thought that if we discovered something, say like a Julimar or a De Grey with a Hemi discovery or Azure recently, we would take it through to production, and see where we went. And so that was the philosophy. But rather than discovering ourselves, we came across the Lake Hope high purity alumina project early last year, and we did a deal to joint venture into that in March, and that's now our focus. I truly believe it is a world-class deposit, and so our focus going forward is to bring Lake Hope into production over the next couple of years and really transform Impact. And that's one of the reasons that 2024 should be a watershed year for us, Nuri.
Well, can you elaborate a little on the highlights of what you see at Lake Hope?
Well, Lake Hope is about 500 kilometres east of Perth. It's almost in the middle of nowhere, but there is a very good track that goes right up to the edge of a salt lake. And the unique thing about this deposit is that within the top 2 metres of that salt lake is roughly 20 billion US dollars worth of high purity alumina, assuming, of course, that we can get it out and convert it into that product. And so it's a very unique climate in that area. It's a very unique geological setting, and there's a very unique deposit there. And so it's been an exciting project to work on so far. The big news that came out in November last year was the scoping study that we put together. That's the first indications of the financial returns on this project, and they really are outstanding. The NPV at an 8% discount rate is well over 1 billion Australian dollars. The capex is a very modest $250 million, cash flow $175 million a year. But the real big thing, and the reason that we got into the project in the first place, is that it does look like it'll be the cheapest producer of HPA globally by a very significant margin of between 30 and 50%, which is really, it's astonishing, really, how much lower we may be able to produce HPA. And that gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of how we process it, where we build the processing plant. And those are the focus this year as well of the pre-feasibility study, which we hope to complete by Q3, Q4 this year, and move on to definitive studies and more mining studies in 2025. So a lot of news to come from Lake Hope.
Taking a step back a little, Mike, could you tell us a little bit about Impact's management team?
Well, we have a very experienced board, as all boards do, and Peter Unsworth is our chairman. He was actually the chairman of the Perth Mint for a dozen years or so for both Labor and Liberal governments. And our other board members, Frank Beerline, Paul Ingram, lots of experience in working with junior explorers and taking them towards production. But a key team member is a gentleman called Roland Gotthard. Now, Roland is the project manager for Lake Hope, and he was the man responsible for discovering it in the first place. And so he discovered it naturally, and we discovered the project on LinkedIn. Roland had basically been fishing for potential joint venture partners, and we took the bait, and it was well worth it given the unique economics that I just talked about. So and Roland is driving the whole pre-feasibility study. He also came up with the process that's required to convert the lake mud into high value, high purity alumina, and that's called the Player One sulfate process. And we're sort of coming towards the end of the first round of test work to make sure that we can scale up the Player One process and produce the high purity material that we need. And again, that's a key focus of the PFS. I've also got a team of young geologists, and we will also be putting out results from our Arkun battery metals project, which is located 150 kilometres east of Perth, again, just down the road here. And we'll have some exciting news from that to come as well during the year.
So there's plenty on the horizon, Mike. In terms of what you're hoping to achieve in 2024, where do you hope to be at the end of the year in a nutshell?
Well, we really hope to have the pre-feasibility study well and done, and then beyond the definitive feasibility study for Lake Hope. A key part of that will be getting material into testing and what they call qualification with the end users of HPA. And its two main uses are in the batteries, lithium-ion batteries in particular, but also other ones, sodium-ion batteries as well. And it acts as a separator between the cathode and anode and basically stops them exploding. And then the second use is in light globes, and so rare earth, in the LEDs, and there's a big demand for that. And that'll be a focus market for us. So if we can get material into testing and qualification with one or two companies by the end of the year, that's also going to be a very big tick. The other major feature will be work on our Arkun project. I do like to say that test work and the PFS studies on alumina are not the sexiest thing to put out in the marketplace. And so we will be keeping the exploration sizzle going from Arkun. We've got some spectacular anomalies there, and we should be able to keep pushing forward on that project as well.
So finally, Mike, in a nutshell, what's your message to any potential investor?
It's going to be a watershed year for impact, as we discussed, Nuri, and the news flow is going to come from two main areas. Lake Hope, we're ticking the boxes on the pre-feasibility study, pushing forward with the processing, and also where we're going to build the process plant. As I mentioned, got a lot of flexibility for that. And then secondly, look for some classic exploration results to come from our Arkun battery metals project. We've got anomalies for rare earths, copper, nickel, and we're certainly hoping there's some gold there as well, given gold is now coming back into flavour. So keep looking for the news flow. Sign up to our investor hub. You can get the link on our website and follow us on the journey.
Well, Mike, thank you very much for having a chat today.
Great, Marie, and look forward to speaking to you again.